Recording in progress.
All right, it is October 12th, 2021, and we will call this regular meeting of the City Council to order. We have a roll call.
Councilmember Brown. Here. Councilmember Krupa.
Here. Thank you. If you'll please stand, we will have our Pledge of Allegiance by Mayor Pro Tem Lilienthal.
Try to make our city better each day, and in Jesus' name, amen.
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 Please join me on a pledge of allegiance. I
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if our city attorney could please report out of closed session.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For item 4A, there's no reportable action. For item 4B, settlement direction was given by consensus. Thank you.
This time, we will have communications from the public. Anyone who wishes to speak, we ask that you fill out a speaker form, appear with the city clerk, and you will have 3 minutes. For the first items, we agenda. So our first item here, John Marin.
JP Bixby, Hemet LLC.
Is that green light on down here? On your mic?
It is, oh, there we go.
Perfect.
John Myrie with JP Bixby, Hemet LLC, and just request that this item 15B be pulled and then be extended and continued for 2 weeks.
Excellent, thank you.
Talk with staff about it, so we're.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, next we have Eddie George, 3 minutes, followed by Lori Kane.
Actually, let her go first, if you will.
Lori Kane, followed by Eddie George. Just pull that down to your, just pull that right down here, and then we'll be able to hear you.
Hear me now? Okay. I'm Lori with Hemet News. I'm not good at speaking, okay, but this, something's bothering me, and I had to bring it to attention. I have a lot of members that keep hitting us up on our page, asking about all the empty buildings on Florida and Harvard. As we all know, the Gibble building sitting there for years with no roof, weeds growing in it. Then we have the Strawberry Cycle. We have the Elite that Simon Chu is now. Simon Chu owns all these buildings. He starts doing work on them, he stops, he buys another project, and they're all sitting there empty. And it's making our city look real bad, seeing all these empty buildings. And now we have him, he bought Boys Burgers, and now he wants to evict that business out of there, and they're paying. And there's business there, and he wants to evict them. They raised the rent, the owner there is paying their rent, but he still wants to evict them. So we have another building. And then we got word that Sweet's Barbecue wants to buy that. So we're gonna have all these empty buildings. We're gonna have like 10 empty buildings, and it's just making our city look bad. And we want our city to look good so people can come here and enjoy our town, especially Harvard and Florida. That's our main thing. And it looks terrible. And something just needs to be done with that. And people are always asking me, so I thought I'd just come here and bring attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Eddie George, followed by Jerry Ann Franklin.
I just basically want to clear up a little bit that she did not cover on this about the Simon Chu issue. I know the city back in 2014 granted Simon Chu over several $100,000. Don't know the exact amount. We're actually trying to find that out. But he was granted this money to fix the Gibble building here on State in Florida. What happened to that money? He's putting it into buying other businesses and doing construction on other businesses that really don't need construction. What's going on with the Gibble building, you know? And instead, he's just leaving all these businesses empty. And like she said about Boys Burgers, everybody knows how long Boys Burgers has been here. It's like one of our heart of our town restaurants here. And when he bought Boys, he paid $250,000 above market price for this building, and then immediately told them that, hey, your rent's gonna be doubled. Went from $1,300 to $2,600. Then he told him, okay, well, you can buy the building for $450,000. That building's not even worth $450,000. And Al told him, look, I can't pay that, there's no way. He said, it's killing me to pay $1,300. But now he doubles it and then wants to double the amount of value on this building. Says, well, if you can't pay it, then you're being evicted. I mean, why do you want to get rid of a good business that's in our town? And it's like, now we have another empty building right downtown in Hemet, you know, right by our library and police station, a family-owned business. And why does he want to do this? Is because he said he got mad because he's seen Matthew McPherson, who he has a beef with, at his restaurant. Just because Matthew and him have beef, Matthew can't come into his restaurant and buy food. He's a valuable customer from it. Just because they have beef, he's doing that because of that. And I think, you know, the city should come together. Carly, I tried to call you several times, but I know you've been busy with your treatments. The city needs to get together and don't allow this guy to keep buying buildings from people and leaving them empty. I mean, let's fix the city's businesses that he's already got, that he's been paid by, you know, to fix the building on that Sharkey's building, the Gibble building. You know, we hear that he was supposed to save the historic marks on that building, and what happened, he destroyed that. So was this guy supposed to be for our city? But yet he's making our city look bad, and it's coming back on our city council. You know, people are coming to us, like Lori said, they're asking, why is our city allowing this? The city should have something to do with this. They should be able to stop it. He can get permits or don't get permits, where all these other business owners came to me and told me, we have to get permits to do any little bit of everything we can do. If we want to fix something in our building, we got to get a permit. But Simon Chu can get away without having permits. So, you know, people are asking us, what's the deal with that? Why is he getting favored when nobody else is? So I just ask, you know, the city council, if you guys can look into this and, you know, be on this guy like you are all the other businesses that we have in town. You know, it's not fair. Everybody else is going to have to deal with, you know, the price of fixing this and fixing that, but yet he can't.
Let me give you some advice. If you want to find out facts on things, then you can email our city clerk for documentation of items.
And we are working on that.
So
We definitely want that.
You do that.
Thank you, Carl.
Yep. Okay, next we have Jerry Ann Franklin, followed by Richard Contel.
Almost good. Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Lakes of Hemet West, and we have some major concerns going on with the homeless situation behind Winco. It's growing into a community back there. I know that the homeless, it's not illegal to be homeless. However, when it infringes upon the people in our community and their safety, then it becomes an issue. And what we're having right now, the homeless are even coming up and doing panhandling as you drive through the drive-through of Chase Bank, where they will come up literally as you're at the ATM machine and try to get money out of you to wash your windows, literally standing in front of the cars. That's wrong. That's not necessary. Our homeowners in our community can't even go into the entrance of Winco without somebody harassing them. People go into that area because our neighborhood is right across the street. They shouldn't have to drive down to Stater Brothers or down to Walmart, which don't even get me started on Walmart and what's going on down there. But, you know, I'm here to speak on behalf of our community. Our Lieutenant Dixon does a fabulous job. The city management has been doing a great job keeping that field clean. I have been praising you guys. Everybody's been doing a really great job. The police have been stepping it up. But behind Winco, our community is really reaching out and pleading with the city. Please support the police department in getting that area cleaned out. I understand that you don't want to shuffle them back and forth, but we're coming into the holiday season where there's going to be more theft involved. These people are going to be looking to be staying in places. They're going to be breaking into places. We need to be proactive. You know, know they don't wanna follow the rules of the Salvation Army to stay in a bed, but that's not our problem. That shouldn't be our problem. That shouldn't be the problem of our community. We're looking at 80-year-old people. So let's protect our community. The city needs to help the police, stay behind the police, and support them to do their job. The homeless don't pay taxes. They don't deserve our money because we pay taxes. So let's scoot them on out and give them the incentive to stay at the Salvation Army by making it less easy to stay behind Winco and stay out in the fields. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and Jerry Lynn, don't miss our next meeting, because we will be having a presentation from CityNet. and it's
Oh,
on-
so
on
I'm invited.
homelessness.
I'm invited to the next
Yes,
meeting.
don't miss it.
I will.
You'll love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Richard Contel, followed by Matt McPherson.
Good evening, council, my fellow neighbors. My name is Richard Contla, retired resident of Hemet. It's no secret that the biggest retail area in Hemet is right there at the corner of Florida and Sanderson. We have 3 large shopping centers, Home Depot. And one thing that is happening as of late is that the panhandling is really getting out of hand. Before it used to be that, hey, no way, buddy, please go away. But they've become very aggressive. And indeed, a couple weeks ago, I had an incident where one of them jumped between me and my vehicle to get in my vehicle, demanding $5 from me. I told him to get lost. He came at me, so I gave him 5. And as his butt was on the ground, I told him, get up, I'll give you 5 more. Old alligators bite. But the thing is, it is becoming a very prevalent problem, especially within wherever there's large retail now. In the last couple of months, it has stepped up. And it's only a matter of time before we have a very unfortunate incident.
Or somebody takes a person.
So this is something that really has to be paid attention to, otherwise it will become a problem everybody else's face. With that being said, I'd like to give a shout out to our guys from Hemet PD who do a terrific job. There is a thin line between chaos and civil peace. You guys are all about it.
Richard, when you have those incidents in those parking lots, it's very important for you to call dispatch, because we track all these things and then we know where to have more officers, and it's all based on statistics. So
Right.
please make sure you call those in.
I probably should have done so, but
I get it. Sometimes you have to call after, but at least you call.
you got 10 with no change.
Non-emergency.
All right,
Yes.
thank you.
All right. Matt McPherson, followed by Joanna Cruz.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. First off, I'd like to thank you guys for bringing the Christmas parade back downtown. I enjoyed that vote last time. But also I'd like to address some stuff that pertains to the previous comments here by Eddie, Lori, and some others. I pulled this right off the City of Hemet website, off the code compliance. It's a paragraph, and I think it does pertain a lot to what we have going on downtown and the homeless issues and other things. Code Compliance Division. The Code Compliance Division responds to citizens' complaints and proactively identifies violations on public and private property. The basis of code compliance rests with property owners and tenants to act as good neighbors. Property owners have rights that protect them. However, the term property rights also implies that property owners have certain responsibilities. No property within the city may be used or maintained in a manner which downgrades the value, use, enjoyment, or safety of one's surrounding property. Code compliance activities protect the health and safety of the community and ensure the highest level of voluntary compliance. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Next, we have Joanna Cruz, followed by Paul and Humanser.
Hello, can you guys hear me well?
I'm Joanna Cruz. I'm actually not even, I just filled out a paper and decided to speak just because I rent from Simon on Harbor. And I have a couple of businesses on Harbor. And Simon, you know, to say things, negative things and things like that and not know the facts, it bothered me. So I had to get up here and defend him. I have 2 businesses on Harbor. There's 4 or 5 new businesses that have opened up on Harbor due to Simon giving us opportunity. I attend the meetings on Wednesdays with Simon, so I know how hard he's working to fix downtown Hemet. I know that the city gives him a lot of problems. I'm actually the one that's gonna open up Island Dogs with Simon on Harbor. So I know that we've been submitting things. We've been waiting on one project for 10 months, and we finally got the permits for it. So, like you said earlier, you know, it pays to send emails, find out what's going on. Simon has been a great landlord to me and have given me plenty of opportunities. And I didn't know this man. I went there like anybody else and applied to rent and open up a business, and he gave me that opportunity. And not only did I open up 1, I've opened up 2. And I'm a hard worker on Harbor. And Eve is retiring and leaving La Boutique. She came up to me. Simon don't own that side of the building. And she came up to me, asked me, can I take over it? Because people see my work ethic down there, and I'm gonna take over that. I'm working hard on Harbor to keep businesses open so they don't close. Because downtown Hemet has a lot of potential. And Simon is somebody that gets up every day and works very hard on Harbor. And I'm there every day with 2 businesses trying to make it happen. And there's a lot of us on Harbor struggling financially, even just to pay the rent. And Simon gives us, he doesn't charge us late fees, he tries to work with us and things like that. And I appreciate him, and I appreciate the hard work that he does and how hard he's working for Hemet. And he does want to see Hemet, downtown Hemet, look good. He has a lot of money on the line. So trust me, he wants it to look good, just like we all do. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Paul Van Humenser. On the 15B, Trace Cerritos. We have a Paul out there that's ready to talk. Well, we pulled it, so. Paul, you're on Zoom.
Yes, thank you very much. I apologize for that. Comment with regards to 15B, but I just heard that it's already been pulled. My comment was simply that if the city council is prepared to pull the item from the consent calendar and not substantively address it tonight, then we'll reserve our comments, obviously. If the council is prepared to address whatever concerns Mr. Myrie is going to bring up, then we're prepared to address it with the city council.
All right, well, we have pulled the item and we will bring it back next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, are there any other public comments? Anyone on Zoom? Any comments?
If there's anyone that wishes to speak, please raise your hand, or now is the time to speak during public comment if you're a participant on Zoom. Just going to give you a few moments to raise your hand. Seeing none, Mayor, I have no registered Zoom comments, but I do have one e-comment.
Okay.
I have one e-comment from Dana Cisneros from Cannabis Corporate Law Firm. Speaking on 16A, I support the imposition of a tax so long as the cultivation tax is reduced and scaled to allow small farmers to participate. They are routinely left out of the legal market due to high barriers to entry. We agree that the tax rates are typical as to all other activities. We also ask that you expedite the application and approval process so as to not preclude the operators from obtaining a provisional license due to recent deadlines for 2022 imposed by the governor's trailer bill and subsequent DCC regulations. See here for the recently adopted emergency regulations She leaves a website for cannabis, california.gov, and I'll email those comments to you and the council. And review section 15001.1 and 15001.2 for these important deadlines. End of comment.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, that should conclude our public comments. Next, we have item 12, presentations. Before we start our presentations tonight, I would like to introduce our new fire chief, Eddie Sell. Would you like to come up, Eddie, and say a few words? Tell us about yourself.
Sure, thank you.
You want me to put the timer on?
You guys, Manager Lopez might have a gong, he can gong me. So, good evening. It's truly an honor to be here with you, Madam Mayor, Council, City staff, and members of the Hemet community. It's truly an honor. I started my fire service journey over 30 years ago in Moreno Valley, so this is kind of a homecoming of sorts, coming back to Riverside County by way of Long Beach Fire for the last 21 years, and also CAL FIRE. I started out as an explorer, and so that's something that's near and dear to my heart. So we're certainly looking to do the best that we can to support the men and women of your Hemet Fire Department. I was honored to actually be able to attend our open house the other day at Fire Station 1 on Saturday. It was a well-attended event. Certainly proud of the men and women and everything that they put together in terms of demonstrations for the citizens. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait to just continue to meet everybody in the city and work with all of our great law enforcement partners, public works, all the other members of the executive team, and really do everything we can to make sure that Hemet continues to grow, expand, evolve with innovation, and just a lot of forward-thinking progress. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. You're welcome to Hemet.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
That's better.
All right, so we have a couple things that I want to go over with today. Starting with, first, I'd like to start with Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And this is to bring awareness to all of the individuals who are suffering from cancer in this region, but more importantly, that we bring awareness to it because there are a lot of places that we can donate to. There are a lot of places that we can get involved as far as awareness is concerned, like husbands doing what their due diligence is with their wives as far as this area is concerned, because that's one of the ways that we can catch these things early from women, and just women taking care of themselves, and that I don't know to be politically correct with this, but in that area. But we want to, as a city, we want to bring awareness to this because it's important. Don't you guys agree? So, whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month is a worldwide annual campaign in October involving thousands of organizations to highlight the importance of breast cancer awareness, education, and research. And whereas according to the Centers of Disease and Prevention, breast cancer is the second most common cancer among women, and that about 1 out of every 100 breast cancers diagnosed in the United States is found in a man. Whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month is an opportunity to unite all citizens in our community to encourage early detection through increased education and regular screening. Whereas by educating ourselves and supporting innovative research, we will improve the quality of life for all Americans affected by breast cancer and one day defeat this terrible disease. And whereas during National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we stand with those who have been affected by this disease, and we recognize all those who have joined their loved ones in fighting their battle, as well as the advocates researchers, and healthcare providers whose care and hard work gives hope to those living with breast cancer. Therefore, Carly Meyer, Mayor of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of October as 2021 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and urge our fellow citizens to join in breast cancer awareness efforts that educate, empower, and inspire hope throughout the month of October. Linda, did you join me up here? So on behalf of, all the staff, the city of Hemet, and council members, we wanted to honor you in your fight with this gift.
That's nice.
Open it in front of us.
Don't blow up.
For those of you who don't know,
I have breast cancer. And I've had the surgery. I've finished some of the treatments. God willing, I'm going to be able to say in 5 years that I am a breast cancer survivor. And it's very personal. I do want to get the word out. Please, ladies and men, check yourselves. Know your bodies. Don't let COVID be the reason that you die from something else. And I will say through this period of time, 3 of my very good friends have been diagnosed with breast cancer. So there's a lot of us around at this point.
my hands are shaking.
Also, with a plethora of other awarenesses going on this month, we want to highlight National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And so, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, whereas National Disability Employment Awareness Month is held each October to commemorate the many and varied contributions of people with disabilities in America's workplaces and economy, and whereas the theme for this 2021 America's Recovery Powered by Inclusion reflects the importance of ensuring that people with disabilities have full access to employment and community involvement during the national recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas people with disabilities are a crucial part of our town as valued workers, public servants, business owners, veterans, and family members and friends, and are indigenous and valued contributors in the workplace, classroom, and our community. And whereas the City of Hemet supports programs and employment practices that serve and benefit persons of all abilities to symbolize and support individual dignity, independence, and productive lives for all people. Therefore, Carly Meyer, Mayor of Hemet, along with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2021 National Disability Employment Awareness Month and encourage all citizens to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of persons with disabilities throughout our community. So with that, I would like to invite representatives from KEVI 10, Exceed, and Towards Maximum Independence. Pizza over there located on Stetson Avenue. And he couldn't make it tonight, but he did send some words of encouragement that he does this because this is a good opportunity for this population it's like, don't overlook people because they have disabilities. It could be as far as Down syndrome and things like that. So if you are an employer in here and you have a heart for people, not saying that you don't have a heart, but if your heart's led to employ someone with disabilities, understand that the city stands behind that, and we highly praise individuals that involve themselves in that mission.
So, see, thank you. Then we have TMO.
We really appreciate all of your, and this is not limited. I mean, we have other businesses in the city of Hemet that, I know Chili's and, is it Walgreens on Lyon in Florida? Walgreens, yeah, they also, and obviously the bigger corporations couldn't be here, but they also have people who are employed as well. Also, on Palm Street, I think it's the place where they're making the RVs. Forest Rivers, they also, I went all over him. You know, a lot of people are doing a lot of things. A lot of people didn't want to be recognized. And for example, Mr. Jeff over at Milano's Pizza, but these individuals, I want them to say a couple words about what they do.
I founded Together on Disabilities in 2016 when we did advocacy work. I helped parents of young adults or children with disabilities advocate for services for their children. And then in 2019, I opened up a storefront called Kevy 10, where I team up with LifeWorks, and they bring children with disabilities to volunteer there and work. Kevy's my daughter. She's 22. She suffers from disabilities. She's special, and I'm honored to be her mom, because this is who I do it for, ultimately. And she works at the store as well as Marissa, and they come in on Thursday and they do an awesome job. So I encourage the city to please support us. Come by. The kids are there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sometimes it's really slow because a lot of businesses on Harbor are struggling. But if you guys can come in there, pick up a shirt, pick up something for $1, it gives them an opportunity to ring you guys up and learn something. And they enjoy doing it. So I thank you guys for the continued support of those who have already came there and supported us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, council members. It's a pleasure to be here, and we're very honored to be recognized. Exceed has been providing services to adults with disabilities in the Valley for 40 years. We actually just celebrated our 40th anniversary. And in addition to some of the businesses that you mentioned, Home Depot in Hemet has been a great supporter. We've had a couple of clients that have been employed at Home Depot for more than 20 years. And they were embraced by everybody, and the culture, and everybody just really supported them. And so that's very, very special to our heart. And throughout the Inland Empire, we currently have about 135 clients working in places beside folks like you and I. They're doing wonderful things, and we help them realize those dreams. So we thank you for your support and the businesses, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jose Mayoga, and this is Emma Pendes, and we are with Toward Maximum Independence. This nonprofit, also just like everyone else here, I mean, we do our work for them, for our clients that have developmental disabilities, and I mean, the reason we do this work, I mean, it's to help them become as independent as possible, just as they see us be independent in our own individual lives. I just want to be able to thank our community members that have helped us and our clients have access to businesses, have access to be able to work, you know, and be a representation to their communities. And so it's nice to see other organizations as well that are here trying to make Hemet and all of its citizens and other individuals with disabilities have that capacity, have that opportunity to be who they've been called to be. So I just thank everyone here, and I think especially our clients that may be watching as well. So hello everyone. But I just want to thank Madam Mayor and everyone else here, City Council, and everyone else just for the opportunity to be here. I'm sorry if I said too much. Did you want to say anything?
You said it all. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right. Thank you guys so much.
Who loves pets? Who loves pets? All right. Well, Adopt a Dog Month. Whereas in October 1981, a year before I was born.
Oh, God. Oh, boo. Unnecessary comment.
The American Humane Association founded Adopt a Dog Month in response to the growing number of dogs and puppies entering shelters every year. And whereas in our community there are an average of 100 to 150 dogs awaiting responsible owners and safe homes on any given day, and whereas animal shelter employees and volunteers in our community work endlessly and tirelessly to care for the homeless dogs as they await adoption, and whereas the dogs make wonderful additions to a family unit by providing affection, companionship, and comfort by getting us outdoors for exercise and helping us build social connections and community bonds. And whereas our community recognizes the benefits of a four-legged friend and the happiness and joy that they bring to a household. Therefore, Carly Meyer, Mayor of Hemet, along with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2021 Adopt a Dog Month in the City of Hemet, and encourage the City of Hemet and its fellow citizens to support our local animal shelters through the adoption or donation process. My final proclamation is Water Professionals Appreciation Week. Whereas water is one of the most valuable economic, environmental, and recreation resources, and whereas water is critical to maintaining public health protection, economic vitality, fire protection, and quality of life, and whereas the City of Hemet and local water agencies collaborate to meet the needs of the community's water, wastewater, and recycled water requirements, and whereas Water Professionals Appreciation Week is intended to highlight the important role of water industry professionals and local public water agencies in ensuring safe and reliable water, wastewater, and recycled water in California. Whereas the City of Hemet appreciates the care put into the day-to-day operation of the community's most valuable resource. Therefore, Carly Meyer, Mayor of Hemet, along with the Hemet City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of October 2021, or 2 through 10, 2021, Water Professionals Appreciation Week, and urge all people of Hemet to recognize and appreciate the vital services provided by the city and local water agencies.
Mayor Pro Tem, we do have Travis Holyoke from the Water Division here that can accept the proclamation.
Would you like to accept this proclamation?
Sure.
Water Professionals Appreciation Week. I know water is something we take for granted, you know, so it's precious. We have a real treat for you guys. We would like to recognize the police department staff members that were recently honored at the 42nd Annual Law Enforcement Appreciation Awards Dinner. The ceremony did not take place last year due to COVID, so we are acknowledging our awardees for this year and the year prior. The Hemet Police Department category winners, as I call your name, just line up right here. So we have Andrew Renelso, K-9 officer. Dylan Wirtz. David McDonough. So, his says the Hemet City Council congratulates you for receiving the 2020 Act of Valor Award. We are grateful for recognition of your unyielding adherence to the highest ideals of law enforcement and maintaining, preserving, and protecting the lawful rights of all citizens. Dylan's was awarded because the City of Hemet congratulates him for receiving the Life-Saving Award. We thank you for your outstanding performance and successful effort in saving a human life. And then David also has the recognition of his unyielding adherence to the highest ideals of law enforcement and maintaining, preserving, and protecting lawful rights of all citizens, receiving Excellence in Community Service Award. And then Brian Wood. So this is the Investigative Excellence Award that he received on behalf of the City of Hemet. And then we also have another Excellence in Community Service Award going to Luis Reyes. And then we have one more Investigative Excellence Award. I'm not reading the whole thing because it says the same thing on all of them. But Investigative Excellence Award going to Gonzalo Alvarez. Thank you for your outstanding service and contributions to our community. And we pray that you guys love what you do and continue to do what you do, and we stand behind you. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for doing that, Malcolm.
Yeah. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is item number 13, receive and file. So So item 13A, we have our city warrant registers. If anyone has any comments, now's the time. Okay, seeing that we have none, we will receive and file that. Item 14, public hearing. 14A, we have a staff report with us.
Yeah, so Steve Larusso is making his way to the dais. City Engineer will be giving the report, Mayor.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I apologize for the delay. This item here before you is for it's a resolution of the City Council for amending the applicable TUMP fees that are associated with all developments within the city. So just a quick statement here. WRCOG is requesting this. This is part of the Nexus study that was started back in 2002 that I'll get into on the next page here as well. But they're requesting that the city approve the resolution that allows for the increase in the TUMP fees. So this all started back in 1999 with WRCOG member agencies and the county identifying a plan to address the financial shortfall needed to enlarge the capacity of the regional system of highways. In 2002, the first TUMP Nexus study was approved by the 14 member agencies at the time. Now there's 18. And since that time, there's been 3 major updates in the TUMP Nexus study. The next one is scheduled for completion of next year. Something to be proud of is that you can see there $843 million has been collected through 2019 for regional improvements. This is just highlighting the rates for the different categories: single-family residential, multifamily residential, industrial per square footage, retail commercial, service commercial, and Class A and B offices. The last increase that was had took place at the beginning of this year. There was no increase since 2019 due to COVID on that, on those issues. And just also the background that this was presented back to the WRCOG Public Works Committee earlier this year, and then the WRCOG Executive Committee approved it back in July of this year. With that, I'm here for any questions you may have.
All right, well, with that, we will open up our public hearing. And City Clerk, do we have any comments in favor of or in opposition to?
No registered public comment. I would like to open up for public comment on the Zoom call. If there's anyone who wishes to speak, now is the time to speak, so raise your hand if you would like to speak during public comment for the public hearing matter. Just give it a few minutes. And seeing none there, we have no registered public comments.
Excellent, thank you. I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but if anybody has comments or questions. No questions. It is, I think this was very forward thinking back in the late 1990s to institute something like this, to put improvement in streets and roads around new developments, and it should be part of the development and not dumped on the cities to take care of. And as a result, when there's a new development, either commercial or family housing, they pay into a fund that goes to improve the streets and roads, to improve traffic circulation and handle the increased traffic. So I do have actually one question. is this, the increases, are they based on CPI or how do they come up, or CIP, I'm sorry.
I think you had it right the first time.
CPI?
Yes.
CIP? I don't know. That's the improvement, capital improvement, see?
Yes.
Pay attention.
That's a good question.
They're calling it a CCI increase, a consumer cost increase.
Okay.
The formula though, I don't know what they use for that. I could get that information from, okay.
No, just as long as it is actually based on something. And I know for a few years in the downturn of the economy in like 2010 to 2015, some cities discontinued it completely and then really had to catch up on it. Hemet was one of the smart ones, and we continued collecting TUMP fees through all of the downturn of the market. And so we didn't get dinged at the end. But anytime, you've got to keep up with it, because any new development that comes in, the streets and roads are going to be, it's more expensive to build them and improve them to keep up with the development. So it's one of those necessary evils that we have to put up with, and it benefits our community. I'm done. All right, are there any other comments?
Yeah, I was looking for the document. I may not have it with me. I know that the WRCOG Executive Board had a lengthy discussion at the last meeting on the TUMP fees, and I think it was unanimous that everybody recognized, as Linda commented, that it's a very necessary component of development, so that these developments are encouraged and sought, but not on the backs of the city taxpayers that have to support the impact that it has on the infrastructure and the roadways. So it's a reasonable means of addressing those costs and impacts. And we're going to be doing the nexus study again coming up next year. So as the cost of materials, as we know, are going up, it's necessary that we continue to evolve and not fall behind.
All right, if there's no further comments, do we have a motion?
Okay, I move that the City Council adopt a resolution amending the applicable transportation uniform mitigation fee TUMP applicable to all developments in the city of Hemet.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, City Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Motion by Councilmember Brown, second by Mayor Pro Tem Roll. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
And roll call?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0 to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, amending the applicable transportation uniform mitigation fee TUMP applicable to all developments in the City of Hemet.
Next, we have item 15, our consent calendar. All items on our consent calendar will be acted upon by a single action of the City Council. If anyone would like to pull any items, now would be the time to do that. I know that we are pulling item 15B and item 15D, and we'll bring those back to the next meeting. So B and D. D is in David. Pull 15E, but only to make an extremely brief comment even before we vote. I'll make the comment. I am very pleased that we have a local company that received the bid on this well. LO Lynch has been around for an awfully long time, and it's good to see that they're still in business. That was it.
I'm not gonna pull the item, but it's 15G, which I'm proud of. It's the California Literacy Grant. So I think it'll give an opportunity for citizens of Hemet when they go to the library to get help, when it comes to the GED maybe, and anything having to do with education, that they could get those support services, like tutoring services, to help them obtain the necessary credentials they need to, better their lives. So I think this is an important grant that we're being awarded, continuing the adult literacy program at the Hemet Public Library.
Okay. If there are no
Mayor,
items.
I do have a comment on 15B. We want to make sure that legal and staff has enough time to review it, so we're requesting 30 days on that one, Mayor.
15, B as in boy or
B as in boy.
B as in boy.
Is it granted as that?
Yes.
Okay, so we have all items except 15B as in boy and 15D as in David. Up for a motion. Motion to approve.
Second.
Right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Motion by Councilmember Krupa, second by Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal?
Yes.
Mayor Nye?
Yes.
Motion to approve consent calendar with polling items 15B and 15D.
Great, thank you. Okay, item 16, discussion action items. First we have item 16A. This is our resolution of the City Council for our cannabis business license tax rates.
Mayor, Steve Brown, City Attorney. This is an item that has come to the council twice before, and I've updated the staff report to include the additional research that was requested by the City Council. In particular, the City Council had asked for information on the two jurisdictions in Riverside County that weren't utilizing a tax to raise revenue, but they were doing it through agreements with the retailers. So there's actually three jurisdictions that are doing that, one of which is Canyon Lake. As you know, I also serve as city attorney there. They have not actually gotten their cannabis regulatory program off the ground. They just did their second reading a couple weeks ago, so they don't have any data on that yet. For Lake Elsinore, they are charging $18 per square foot for combined retail cultivation microbusinesses, and they expect to receive approximately $100,000 per year in revenue per location. Wildemar starts with 2% of gross revenues in the first year, 3% in years 2 through 5, then 5% in years 6 through 20 for their cannabis retail, expecting revenues of $50,000 to $130,000 per location. I can tell you, based on my conversations with HDL, those expected revenues I think are a little understated. I think that they're probably going to realize significantly more revenue than that, but that's the numbers that they have. I did have another question that was from the council regarding the number of licenses that are in Riverside County. I didn't have that data at the time of getting the staff report in because with our city manager and our city clerk, we are on a very robust schedule for getting these staff reports in on time so they can be adequately reviewed. But I do want to orally add that in answer to that question, for cultivation, there are 133 active cultivation licenses in the county of Riverside. 66 of those are indoor, 42 of those are outdoor, and then the remaining, I think it's 28 or so, are a combination of mixed light, nurseries, and processors. For retailers, there are 80 storefront retailers. There are 5 non-storefront retailers, so those are basically delivery-only retailers. And there are 39 micro businesses, which is the type of business that this council approved for the city of Hemet, of which 17 in the county allow for storefront retail, and 8 are non-storefront retail, so delivery only. So you can expect that those would be the type of retail businesses that would come to the city of Hemet based on the regulatory ordinance that was passed. In addition, there are 55 active manufacturing licenses. So 18 of those are type 6 non-volatile solvents. There are 16 type 7 volatile solvents, where they're using butane and other extremely flammable gases to do the manufacturing process. And I will forward all of these. I waited till the end, Councilmember Krupa, as I saw you writing them all down, but I want to let you know that I will forward all of these to you at the end.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. So with that, we do have the recommended numbers that came from HDL, and these were lower than the average. The intent of that recommendation was for Hemet to be very competitive. We do have the average of all of our jurisdictions in Riverside County, and then I think probably more to the point, we have the numbers from our adjacent jurisdiction, San Jacinto, in the chart. I have attached a resolution that sets the cannabis tax rates. I left the amounts blank so that the council can give that direction if that was the desire tonight. The city clerk can fill in and you can pass it. The last point I would note is that if the council takes no action on setting the cannabis tax rates, the cannabis tax rates are currently set to 15% of gross sales for retail and other uses, 25% for manufacturing, and $30 per square foot for cultivation. I think that would, in all those cases, would make the city some of the highest in the by Fairmont.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you guys ready to set this tonight? Yes, let's pass this tonight. I'd like to make two recommendations on this. Okay. And that's to increase the retail to 10% and to increase the cultivation to $10 a square foot. I think the rest would be the same. But I do have a question on that. Do we not have cultivation as only indoor in our ordinance? There is no outdoor?
Your ordinance allows only indoor.
Only indoor, okay. Those are my comments. Okay, so let's barter. What if we, I'm pulling back at our whole sheet here. Like Marina Valley is 8%. What if we did like 8 or 9, just to be a little bit sweeter than all the 10s? I'm only saying it because we really have limited our area anyways. So if we want, we probably need to like throw somebody's on to do it. But, so I think that, and then the other thing I think is on the cultivation, this is kind of wild, but I did like the idea that, let's see, that banning did. The first year is a different number than all the rest. Because it's like, you know, the first year, the startup cost, or whatever they do. What do you guys think of that? Just do like something in 10. There was the gentleman that called in on public comment that I believe made a comment about making cultivation a reasonable fee to not price people out of the marketplace. I don't know who that was. The only problem with that is if it doesn't do the micro business, you don't really do the whole. Exactly. So some two of them are connected. I would look at that one too. But I mean, we've got to do something just to get this started so that if we need to make changes going sometime in the near future, at least we know what we're doing.
So let's start at 8 for the first year and then go to 10 in second year.
So retail, I would say 8% and that we just leave that. I know that LA County is trying to lower their 10% already. And so we don't want to start. San Jacinto was 10%. Is it 10 or 15? 10. I think they're 10. It says on there 15, but.
So our research indicated 15, but the common, what everyone's told me is that it's 10. So I think their ordinance might have been set at 15, and then they might have dropped it by resolution to 10.
I don't have a problem with it. Okay, let's do 8. Let's say 8 for retail.
Paragraph 1 of the resolution for the city clerk.
Yeah, fill in the blanks. And then cultivation.
So
what's a good saying on cultivation to start out with the first year will be one amount, and then 2+ will be a different. Okay, realistically speaking, and I don't have the numbers on this, or if HDL has ever talked to us about that, but starting at a lower fee as a startup, is increasing it the second year actually feasible, or would it be more feasible to go like year 3, 4, or 5 to have an increase?
So I've not asked HDL that specific question. I can only go by what other jurisdictions have done who decided to do that. And generally, the first year is the lowest, and then it escalates after that. Sometimes it'll escalate even further after 5 years. But generally, the first year there's kind of a tax break, and it's mostly, it seems to offset significant capital that needs to be outlaid in order to create the indoor manufacturing facility. Or cultivation facility, I should say.
I don't have a problem with starting lower and escalating.
6 or 7 instead of 10.
If we did something in 10,
You said 10, right, for the.
yeah, ending up.
So if we did 10 for the second plus, and then just think of, I mean, what would you say for the first?
5.
Do 5, just think.
But then going maybe year 3 or 4, something like that.
Like, look at Bannings, they do 5 and 10, 5 or 10. Right.
So make it
And the 5, 8, 10.
Desert Hot Springs, who started at 25 and now we're down to 10, but they,
So-
you know, they've got a big marketplace over there.
And they were the first
Yeah.
to.
They took a lot of risk.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
We do our big 3 steps. Do you wanna?
how complicated should we make this?
Well, that's entirely conceivable. He writes fast.
Okay, Russ, waiting for you and Malcolm to weigh in.
6 and 9.
Seven and 11.
I'm reluctant to throw out a number. I like the concept of a lower number for the reasons stated. The recommendation that we have is 7. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with 5 if that's your preference. I think we want to keep it as simple as possible because it's a complex business and a complex, there's a number of complex costs associated with it and licensing and fees and taxation. So I think that we don't need to add to the complication if we can avoid it. So if we want to look at a tiered process for the cultivation, I could go with maybe a 2-year, but I'm not locked into it.
I'm only thinking like, why would somebody want to come to Hemet versus all these other cities? So we just want to have a reason why. It'll be a lot easier to answer. So $5 could do 5 and 10, maybe 5 and 9. 5 for 2 years and $9 after that. Is 2 years too long? I don't, what do you see?
So like I said, I mean, most do 1 year, but this is up to the council. I would say in terms of the competitiveness, because that seems to be part of the reason you're having this discussion. Keep in mind that your principal local competing jurisdictions are the county and the city of San Jacinto, both of which do allow the standalone retail to exist. So I think that incentivizing on the cultivation side, especially if it is not a bad policy decision, it is up to the council. If you want to do 1 year or you want to do 2 years, frankly, my feeling is that they're primarily going to be interested in the retail side, and so most of your revenue is going to be generated off of the gross receipts from retail. I don't think there's going to be a huge difference on the revenue side for the city. So if you wanted to go for 2 years, I don't think it's going to hurt your bottom line all that much.
Okay, so 2 years at 5, and then the second plus will be at 9. Did you say 9 or 10? Either one, it's fine. I'm fine with either one. We'll just leave it 10. Try. All right, did you get all that, John Paul?
My question for the council, I wasn't entirely clear. So I have retail at 8. I have cultivation $5 per square foot for year 1 and 2, and then $10 per square foot thereafter. For manufacturing, distribution, and all other activities, did you want to go with the original HDL recommendations? Did you want to go for other numbers? Did you want to have no taxes for some of those activities?
I'm good with HDL on most. Yeah. I would say, is distribution the delivery? And
No, so that would be considered retail.
that's retail.
Yeah, distribution is between licensees only. So, someone's doing manufacturing, and then it gets taken from there to a retailer. You have to have a license to move that cannabis, so that's distribution.
I'm good with that too. All right, so do you want to make a motion, please? Do you need a motion? Yeah. Okay. I move that we have retail and others at 8%, and cultivation first and second year at $5 a square foot. The third year plus will be $10 a square foot. Let me make sure I write this down correctly. Okay, manufacturing we will have at 3%. Distribution will be at 2%, and all others will be at 4%. And all others is the...
So there are many other licenses. So we're talking about testing facilities. We're talking about nurseries. So there's a bunch of little licenses, none of which we anticipate establishing business in Hemet. For example, there's only 2 testing facilities in the entire county, and both of those were established industrial laboratories. That's nothing we can really do. So some of those other ones, we don't anticipate that actually coming out.
Okay, I'm good with that, and I'll second that motion. So we have first, a second, and do you have further discussion? All right, with that, we can have a roll call, please.
Motion made by Mayor Meyer, second by Councilmember Krupa. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0 to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, setting cannabis business license tax rates as amended to include the following rates for retail at 8%, cultivation for first and second year at $5 a square foot and $10 per square foot thereafter, manufacturing at 30%, distribution at 2%, 4% for testing, including nurseries, and those are the following amendments to the adopted resolution.
Excellent, thank you. All right, item 16B.
I would just say it's all other activities, including testing and nurseries.
And all other activities, including nurseries and
Item 14B.
Is that 14 or 16?
Oh, I'm sorry, 16B.
Yeah, we should.
I'm here to present the Adopted Street program. Initially, we had several members of the community approach staff and say that they're interested in adopting a street, so staff took information from different jurisdictions and compiled a program that works best for the city of Hemet. Starting off with initiatives, how it falls into our strategic plan. The next slide, please. Oh, I have our own role. Awesome. So under community engagement, the Adopted Street program increases the community's pride by implementing community programs and our partnership and collaboration section, as well to develop concepts and programs to enhance the quality of life services. So the purpose of the
program is that it's a voluntary public participation program for stakeholders in the city to have an opportunity to partner with the city in beautifying and maintaining our public areas. Hopefully this slowing down for you. For our program eligibility, you're going to take off number 3, so just skip that. But as for everyone fulfilling obligations, so for fulfilling an obligation, the organizations that are participating are required to follow our program guidelines. Eligible groups include individuals, families, civic and nonprofit organizations, churches, service clubs, and other organizations and volunteers from commercial and private enterprises. Those denied participation in the program will be denied due to a lack of compliance to a previous agreement. So those that are going to participate in our program right now, they have a 3-year contract, 3-year agreement. If they fail to comply with the agreement, then they will be denied participation in the future, and that will start for 5 years after their agreement is discontinued. And then designated representatives, so each volunteer group will have a designated representative that will be the liaison that the city works with. As far as minors, the minimum age requirement right now is 15 years old. So all volunteers at 15 years of age shall be accompanied by an adult chaperone. They shall all be required to have a parent guardian consent form completed. And for every 10 volunteers under the age of 18, so between 15 and 18, there should be 1 adult supervisor. For our Adopt to the Street agreements, they are 3-year commitments. After the initial 3-year commitment has been fulfilled, volunteer groups will be considered active until they have terminated their agreement, or they may adopt another street after that, or continue the same street adoption if it's available. Volunteer groups shall provide at least a 2-week notice to the city before their cleanups in order for the city to schedule trash pickup and ensure that there are no scheduled events in the city at their location. If a volunteer group appears to have ceased to fulfill their program responsibilities, the program coordinator, someone designated by the city, will reach out to the group leader by call or text in any way possible, and then if they are non-responsive, they will send out a mailed letter to the address on file. The group has 30 days to respond, and if they do not respond, then the agreement will be automatically terminated. And their signs will remain property of the city. Volunteer groups shall provide a minimum litter control. However, the city can agree with the group leader or the groups in general if they wanted to do any planting, picking up weeds, graffiti removal. That will be something that the city and the group agree on together. And the city may, at its discretion, temporarily suspend an adoption agreement for road maintenance or construction along an adopted section. However, once the construction is complete, the city may notify the group and they can continue their agreement. For adopted locations, there will be only city roads, and those will be determined by the city, meaning we will allow groups to pick what streets that they would like to adopt. However, the city staff public works will go through and see which streets need the most work. And based on safety and liability, those are the ones that we're going to offer our groups. They are on a first-come, first-served basis, so not more than one group can serve a street. So let's say Florida Avenue can only be serviced by one organization for the 1 mile length. However, if there are not enough streets filled or adopted, then a group may adopt the second street as well. And then the length of the adopted location is 1 mile. However, it is at your discretion and staff's discretion to determine whether a full mile is necessary. It could be 3/4 of a mile, it could be 1.5 miles, just depending on what staff has approved, depending on safety as well. So as I mentioned, organizations are eligible to adopt more than one street. It is first come, first served, so if you don't have enough applicants, but a group would like to adopt more than one street, they are more than welcome to, after we have already assessed all of the applications. And if there is high demand for adoption of roads in a particular area, preference will be given to volunteers that have not yet participated in the program. For the frequency of cleanups, we require at least twice a year minimum, and any additional cleanups shall be completed as necessary to keep public adherence. The volunteer group leader is the liaison to the city, and they shall follow the following responsibilities: ensuring volunteer groups comply with the provisions of the adoption agreement, making sure that each volunteer receives and reviews safety training materials and aids provided by the city, organizing and scheduling cleanup events, ensuring that cleanup events are conducted in a safe manner, ensuring that each adult volunteer under the age of 18 or older completes the registration form, make sure that each volunteer under the age of 18 has a completed parent guardian consent form, filling all required reports and forms with the program coordinator, and reporting any injuries occurred by volunteers during cleanup events to the city. Program support. So the city will support the organizations that are involved in the program by providing them with training. We will provide every group leader with a training session going over a training video, and we will provide them with standardized application forms, a pre-scheduled and pre-approved cleanup events, staff support for the program overall as far as communication, and clearance of all hazardous material and volunteer group reports. So going over what they shall pick up and what they shall not pick up and how to go about their actual cleanups. The city will remove litter collected by volunteer groups during cleanup events and arrange for those removal of hazardous materials noted by the participants. In recognition of the volunteer group's work, the city will fabricate and install signs recognizing the group along the adopted roadway or in the nearest appropriate location. And I will go over the signs in a minute. The recognition signs shall be a standard design with the city logo, and those will be approved by council, including size and color. And it will be fabricated by Public Works with the Adopt a Street program logo on it. And then recognition signs shall only be in the name of the volunteer group. For example, no phone numbers, email addresses, or anything. And they will be separate. So I will go over those in a second. Recycling is encouraged but optional. Any proceeds from recycling will go back to the organization that has done the cleanup. Hazardous materials shall not be handled by any organizations. They shall let the city know of where the hazardous materials are, and the city will take care of them. And illegal signs in the right-of-way, the organization shall not remove any illegal signs. They should just report them and let the city know. So in our packet, we also have the application to participate, a waiver of liability and indemnification, which has been approved by legal, and program safety guidelines. Those will be the guidelines that our Public Works team will go over with our groups once we have initiated the program. As far as our sign ideas, I have 3 ideas for you. This is one, it's a circular idea. A circular sign with the city logo in the background and then the wording all around. However, for every sign, we have the small square at the bottom will be where the organization's name will go. It doesn't necessarily have to be a small square, however, it is separate from the sign so that we're able to remove that sign but keep the Adopt a Sign logo if need be. So there's this option. And then we have a simple option here. And just as shown, after rehab shelter links is right below the actual sign. That's how the signs would be connected. And then our third sign is the Adopt a Street logo. Very minimal wording, and then the organization sign right under. I wanted to answer a few questions that were asked during the ad hoc meeting. So I did reach out to the county, to Mr. Washington's office to see if they have a program, and they do have an Adopt a Street program as well as Hawthorne's. There are some streets, as we discussed, that fall into county lines. And so we wanted to see if we could work together on those, and that is something that we're still working on. However, we can start the program by just adopting city roads right now and then expanding the program later. As far as liability, everyone does need to sign a waiver of liability, and we will be using the JPIA safety video if approved by legal. And as I stated earlier, these streets do not need to be exactly 1 mile in length. They can wrap around, they can be 1.5 miles, they could be 3/4 of a mile. That's going to be up to the council to decide. And we wanted to discuss what are areas that the council might want to change, such as the age limit. The age limit right now is 15 times. If you want to expand it to maybe 3 times a year minimum cleanup. Also, the policy for the approval of nonprofits that request adoption are up for staff approval, meaning organizations that want to apply and have their name on the sign, but might be controversial. So those would be up to the city, up to staff approval, and then preference on your design and location. And then we go back to the actual sign.
Awesome, thank you. You guys pick your sign first before you go. It's the easiest.
That one's the best.
You're on with us?
Yeah.
Alright. So we'll go with round on the sign.
Okay, but keep in mind the sign right under will be rectangular. That's okay. Okay, just making sure. So the city logo in the middle, and then the adopt a street writing all around, correct? And did you want blue?
Yeah, we'll bring some, we'll knock it up. We got the design of what the council likes.
Any questions?
Go back up to our to-do list. Go ahead, Russ.
Just a couple questions. First a comment. I think that programs like this are really good because it engages the community spirit and it accomplishes the net result that we all want to achieve. So I think having community organizations participating in this gives everybody a sense of ownership. So I applaud the concept overall. I did have a question. Looking at the staff report, in the staff report it says all groups who make this commitment will have a sign erected by the city with their name and or logo. And then later on in the, I think in the proposed, it says sign shall not include logos except for the Adopt a Sign program logo. So there's a conflict between what the staff report says and what the procedures are, and I just wanted to weigh in on that and advocate that I think that there could be an opportunity to allow organizations to include their logo for a couple of reasons. One, many organizations may not be recognized by their name, but they have a widely recognized logo that people could identify with. So I think I would advocate that there should be some leeway to allow a logo. The prominent logo obviously is the city because it's a city-sponsored program, but I think that you might find organizations really wanting to include their logo. So I think that would be one recommendation that I have. As far as the age group, I don't know if the city attorney wants to offer any commentary on that, but I think that I'm thinking of organizations like the Scouts and Little League, and you have some real energetic young folks that could do a lot of good sweat equity that are considerably younger than 16. So I don't know if there would be a legal concern about lowering the age limit, but I would recommend making it lower if we can.
Let me comment on that too, so you don't have to answer twice, but I would agree because, and even like families and churches, I mean, Malcolm goes on cleanups and he has his kid on his chest and he's still there. You know what I'm saying? Right, and so families that go out, though, the parents can assign their kids liability and be responsible parents. But I think part of like, if you go back to why we're doing this and on that page, we need to add like, we're training young people to care.
This is the training.
Right, and so it's, yeah, it's from when they're babies that they learn to care about things. And we want to address the root of problems around our city. We need to care from the day we're born.
When we had the last cleanup at Simpson Park, we had several scout troops, and those kids were just absolutely amazing. I mean, they ran circles, literally ran circles around the rest of us. And then they went on a 2-mile hike to make sure that the flag pole up on the top of the hill was okay. So and that's what they learned. I mean, you get the kids early, and sure they're supervised. And that's good, but I think lowering that age is, however we do it with liability, we need to do that. Kids need to be involved. Should I wait it to you?
Right, but that all being said, City Attorney, do you agree? So I would say that, I think obviously staff's recommendation comes after looking at how other programs have been modeled. I believe the age restrictions that are included in the staff recommendation originally came from Caltrans regulations. So if you look at Caltrans,
Yes, we clean up Florida Avenue and Rotary, and there are so many hoops to jump through that it's absolutely ridiculous, but there is a definite age limit.
You actually have to get an encroachment permit to pick up trash off of the state highway. But I think that you're right. I think that the age restrictions that you see in the Caltrans model are reflective of the increased danger that we're talking about when we're talking about being along a freeway, being a highway. Even Florida Avenue itself, the portions that are a state highway, obviously have significantly higher traffic than most other city streets. Any program the city embarks upon is going to have some risk. But I think that, if the council felt that, we're getting the waivers of liability, we're requiring a parent or other guardian to sign that waiver before any minor can participate. I think you're right. I think, encouraging youth to participate is certainly a noble policy goal, and I don't see any extreme risk when we're talking about city streets from lowering that age threshold. But I did think it was important to point out why that age threshold was in the recommendation, because that's what the taking documents.
No, that was.
Okay, I have another one. On the bottom of 348, I think it's in the staff report, but I saw it earlier in the policy, but as far as the waivers, like, first of all, we plan the event 2 weeks ahead of time. I think that the team leader, or whatever we call the person in charge, needs to have all the waivers in hand before the event starts. And instead of 2 weeks in advance, because you don't always know 2 weeks in advance before you even go to a cleanup event, because things happen.
We
addressed
that in the talking, Malcolm and I were ad hoc on this one, that the staff had it down to, I think, 2 or 3 days. And they said, that's good from one perspective, but if the city is supplying the grabbers and the bags and the locations to put full bags of trash and whatever, Public Works is going to need more than 2 days to make sure that they have everything in line. So if the responding, or if the group has their stuff together and says, okay, and whatever Saturday coming up or whatever day of the week, we want to do it on the second Saturday in the month. But give the city, I would say, at least a week's notice.
I think that the 2 weeks notice to schedule is fine.
Okay.
And they can give an approximate, but it's impossible to know exactly the paperwork.
Oh, as far
I'm
as
saying just the
volunteers.
slips. Yeah. Make the team leader collect the permission
day
slips
of,
before they start.
Because you're right, you don't know who's going to show up the day of the event.
But
so
2 weeks in advance is fine for scheduling.
Yeah.
They usually give a good approximate, but like if we are going, or if I'm going with Gabby, and then oh, Roger and Garen's game got canceled, they're gonna come to the
Right.
event, so then you can just, oh, here,
There you
sign
go.
them. Yeah. We just don't wanna inhibit people from,
And I don't,
that one's a simple one, but it's just,
and I think that, I mean, that's logical, because you don't know who's gonna show up the day
yeah.
of the actual working.
Let me see.
I would just add to that, it's not necessarily exactly the part of the decision that you were going with, but so long as those individuals are signing the waiver, attending the safety briefing, and wearing the necessary safety equipment, I think that's fine, what do you say?
I did get notices in the waiver of liability bulletin program of when the waiver of liability will be turned in. And I think that may be something we want to look into. Let's say cleanup goes on a Saturday and they've collected all their waiver of liabilities, are they required to send it, give it back to us on Monday so that we have that on file, or how does that work?
Do we have something people can upload the documents to? So we don't have to really deal with paper?
I can leave it by the time the circuit's fixed.
Yeah, operationally, we can certainly, I can completely understand the concerns though if someone shows up and says, hey, I just want to volunteer, and you know, we want to make sure that the waiver is completed, but we don't want to hold that up in terms of them volunteering.
Now here's a question for you guys, and I'm not bent on this either way, but on page 3 of the policies and procedures, we have a volunteer group is not eligible, and it pretty much is like political parties. So obviously it doesn't matter about, sorry, I get this. If someone is running for office or anything, we obviously don't want anything like that. But what about like Republican women, the Democratic women, like they do service projects all year.
I brought that up in the ad hoc meeting, exactly that, because those are the organizations that do go out
Active.
Yeah, they're very
And I
active.
feel like hindering them would be.
So we were supposed to get a legal ruling on that one.
So, as a matter of fact, the city attorney and I spoke this morning about that, and one of the ways that we think we're able to accommodate that is having a separate policy as it relates to the types of organizations that would be permitted, because there are some, we'll call it extreme political organizations that we probably don't want to have on there, and we think that if the city attorney, staff, can all work together on identifying that criteria, that we can address and alleviate some of the concerns with some of the other groups that we know do good work in the community, but still make sure that some of the more polarizing extremist groups aren't being promoted on the Dawkins Street.
I'm going to help the city manager out here. The intent of those courtesy signs is to recognize the volunteer efforts of the organization. It's not intended to be an advertisement. It's not intended to engage in some political statement or political discourse. And so, one of the jobs of the city manager or the city attorney is to say, oh, this is a wonderful program, how can it all go terribly wrong and cause a huge issue for us. And so I think we don't want to give the impression that the city is endorsing a political party or a political position. So I think that was the intent of that policy section. But I think that if the city manager is able to have a little bit of discretion on those courtesy signs, and that they're not intended to be advertising, they're not intended to be solicitation, they're not intended to be political discourse, and essentially we're talking about bona fide civic organizations
That actually do things.
that actually, as part of their
besides
regular
that.
course of business, engage in public projects like that. I think that we can craft some language there to protect that issue for the city, while still allowing, like you said, there are certain groups that their name might have a political ring to it, but they engage in public projects all the time.
Okay, I wanted to bring up that one, and then, let's see.
I wanted to add to that point in that other cities adopt to block or adopt to street programs. I have not seen organizations logos. I like that idea, and we will take that into account, but I think that might be the reason why. It's not an advertisement, it's just a recognition. So that might be something we can do.
On the program safety guidelines, it says do not wear long sleeves, or do wear long sleeves, long pants, hard-soled shoes, and work gloves. That sounds great, except it's when it's 100 degrees. So, I'll wear shorts and a t-shirt. So that probably shouldn't be in there. Maybe we can just say, you know, solid shoes and work gloves and appropriate.
That's what they were.
Yeah,
A lot of them,
you don't want them to strike out.
I-
Those require that you wear certain clothing. You can't have open-toed shoes or, you know, other ones where they look on flights.
I think we could craft the language there that, you know, are required to wear appropriate work attire, you know, for the work that they're performing and the climate that they're operating in. I think that would be fine. I don't see that being a significant issue. Again, you know, most of these regulations or these policies are coming from programs that operate inside of a highway, where, you know, there's all sorts of stuff on the side of the highway you've got to be careful.
The other thing too that's really important is this is our first stab at bringing this forward to council. So there's kind of this overarching concept of the program and of the Adopt a Street. So what we were really trying to do too is see, you know, are we tracking and trending in the right direction that the council would like to go in? And that way all the items that you're referencing in terms of the changes and the modifications, we could definitely incorporate into the formalized
We're gonna wrap this right up for you.
well, the formalized items so that we can, but we want to make sure that we're tracking in the right direction for council.
Okay, so those are the only things I have. Do you have more on this item? On the sign and the allowing logos or not? Will you go back to the example?
Yes, and I wanted to also state that the sign where the recognition would go on would be printed or it would be labeled by Public Works, so I can look into the difference and agree that to add logos as well. So that's
So all these examples show just the typed out, and I've seen that before, but I understand what Russ is saying too. I mean, reason that people have logos for marketing purposes, so you guys discuss this. Yes.
Mayor, on that topic, generally what I've seen in other communities that have allowed a logo or customization is that the standard, you know, simple typeface is what the city provides to the organization. If they want to go a little fancier and have a logo or have something custom, then they have to pay that additional cost and develop that, and it has to be approved by the city manager. That's generally what I've seen.
I wanted to though, there is a portion in the program that says that the sign would remain property of the city. So in that type of incident would, since they're paying for it, would they to keep it? I think that's something we need to include or not. So we're asking problems.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna keep it because they're just paying for the extra. All right, you guys, let's make a motion on this. Now I've got this list, okay?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, go.
So, I want to add something else. I've noticed this year in our school districts that, and even like the charter schools, that they have like a physical education component where they have to sign off on some hours or something like that. I was wondering if the city and the education department could figure out that maybe if those kids went out and did something like this, that it could be a part of their hours for, you know, community, for getting like CE hours and stuff like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because some of them are just doing exercise things at home, they video themselves, upload it or whatever, but if they did something like this, they could also, they could, you know what I mean, get some out of the house, for those ones that are homeschooled and stuff.
That's something we can look into.
Yeah.
So would that be like we put that in the agreement for the people? So you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, Public Works will say, oh, this church has a cleanup coming up, and we have 2 students that would like to attend. They'll need a chaperone, you know, from their group.
I'd love to see how that could
So we could
work in
see how
practice.
somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's a great
Fold
idea.
it in.
Mhm.
You all agree with all the money? approve this resolution that was presented. Choosing the round sign with the logo option, but the group would pay the difference. No age limits, and we already have the minor chaperone requirements in there, so that's good. Waivers before the event begins. Political party, up to the discretion of the city manager. So the political parties will be for established political parties that already do community service. Appropriate attire, and add as a student public service opportunity. Community service.
Community service, they can get credit, and fitness credit.
Yeah.
Community service or fitness credit. Perfect. All right, there you go, there's a motion.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, want to do a roll call vote?
Motion made by Mayor Myers, second by Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal. Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Krupa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal?
Yes.
Mayor Meyer?
Yes.
That motion passes to approve a resolution of the City of Hemet adopting an adopt a street program of the City of Hemet and including amendments to choose the round sign logo, paid by the group, no age limits, labor to be received before the event begins, political parties approved by the city manager, appropriate attire or work attire, and credit for fitness or community service.
Great, thank you very much, that's exciting.
One final thing on that, Mayor, that was a specific action item listed in the strategic plan, so thank you.
All right, Roscoe. All right, item 16C.
Good evening again, Mayor. Let's try again. Good evening again, Mayor, members of the council. Here on requesting an underground waiver for 828 West Florida. It's a proposed car wash by Express Car Wash, and this is, I'm just going to present the background on the project and what they're requesting and why. So, as I mentioned, it's a proposed car wash at 828 West Florida. It involves a 6,300 square foot building with 26 vacuum stalls. The issue at hand is the proposed conditions of approval, as we're following the municipal code, identifies the requirement for undergrounding of the existing utilities fronting the property. There are currently 2 poles, and I'll show in the exhibit in a second. There are currently 2 poles existing along Palm. That would be part of the undergrounding. However, the likelihood of installing additional poles north and south of this to accommodate the removal of those 2 poles. Edison has identified them as there's 3 high voltage circuits on there. I guess they call them feeder lines. One of the other items that we have is another condition of approval is the proposed widening of Palm in order to comply with the local street section. This widening is a proposed 3 feet. This is in your packet as well, but you can see down here there's pole A, pole B, and then pole C, which is where the riser would be. But there has to be another pole over here north of their property. So the municipal code allows city council to grant a waiver of the undergrounding requirements based on a finding of financial hardship, and as well that it would not create a negative impact to the community. The one thing though is that it does not identify requirements for the relocation of of these poles. The two existing poles are approximately 12 inches behind the existing curb and would require, if the widening was pushed to be 3 feet, those two poles would have to be relocated back. But there would be some concerns of additional guiding, where they have to tie the poles back, so there might be an addition of another pole based on what Edison has provided. All that information is in your packet as well. But just some other facts about the project. So the proposed car wash is approximately $1.8 million. The undergrounding estimate, again, is in your packet of approximately $1 million. And the pole relocation is approximately $232,000. Now, keep in mind that if you relocated the poles, you wouldn't have to do the relocation. But just to give you the idea of the costs that are involved there. And that is my presentation. Here to help answer any questions.
Any questions?
A couple clarifying questions. You mentioned in the staff report that the objective of providing a bike pathway, you have to widen Palm by 3 feet. So to accommodate that widening would require the poles to be moved. Is that right?
Yes. So
they're in that area, so in that 3-foot area.
Correct.
So you could not accommodate the widening to set the stage for the bicycle path without moving the poles.
Well, let me clarify a bit on the bicycle path. It is not a designated separated path. It's basically sharrows in that particular location. But if, as far as widening of the street to be the 3 feet, the additional 3 feet, that's also to comply with the local road section of the city's.
But in any case, the poles would, where they exist now, they would have to be moved to accommodate that.
Yes.
And I think also in the staff report, it says that part of the north on Palm, the street would not include that because there's no development happening there.
Correct. So it would pop out 3 feet back forward because right now the curb's in there.
And it doesn't pop back out again until Camelot. So why, you know what I'm saying this? What's the part that I'm...
No, the waiver request or the request by the applicant, and then as I'm presenting it forward, is to not underground nor relocate the poles because of the additional costs that are involved with relocating the poles and or underground.
And the poles are in the 3-foot span that we're speaking of?
Yes.
Kind of, okay.
Yes.
So
that's my...
Yeah, so we would be basically, if what's before us is to decide whether or not we want to grant a waiver of undergrounding, and the 3-foot widening is another component, reason to justify that request.
Correct. Yeah, and the idea was undergrounding relocation of the utilities.
And if the chances of us ever widening that poor little street is very slim, because it really, it widens at, like after Oakland. And so that's quite a ways, and so I can't see us doing that anytime soon, I'm just saying. I mean, it would be beautiful, but it can't just like, it's an old street. I just have one correction from your staff report. That building was built in the early 1950s, not the 1980s. So that building's been there a long time. I don't have a problem with the waiver of the undergrounding because we do have that option when there's undue cost. But I have some problems with those poles. I mean, they don't want to move them because it's expensive, I understand that. But if we're granting $1 million that they don't have to do undergrounding, the least they can do is move a pole for $200,000. And that sounds really crass. But, I mean, they're gonna be in the way, right? I mean, isn't that Palm Avenue, or Palm, whatever it's called, is in the Valley Bicycle Circulation Plan. And we are receiving grant funding to have Palm Avenue as bicycle paths. So what do we do with 3 poles or 2 poles in the middle? Well, I have a question on that. How do we pick the skinniest street? We have a real few wider ones that are curved in it. Palm was chosen because it runs all the way up to San Jacinto and it's closest one to their circulation of their bike paths going down. So it's like, it was chosen before I went on top.
Left foot?
Yeah. And, well,
Left on another wide street.
a lot of people have to learn defensive driving.
But I'm just saying, be defensive on a wide road.
I know, exactly. So
Just
that's my issue.
To answer that, a part of it, class 3 bikeways are basically shared use.
It's part of the street, I understand that.
So, but as far as widening of the additional 3 feet and moving the poles 2 to 3 feet depending on the exact location, that's presented before you too. As far as the cost is shared in there as well. I don't know if I answered your question. I apologize.
Councilperson, I think the issue that was being presented by the applicant was, you know, if we were to move this 3 feet over and that somehow finished the widening of the street that would accommodate the bike lane, I think they probably okay. But the issue was, if they widen the street for this project, you're going to get, I think, about 100 feet of street frontage going north of Florida, and then you're going to get about 3 miles of it going back to the regular.
Good to have a ball out, not that you've
Right, and so I think the point the applicant was trying to make was, you know, so we're going to spend $250,000, so this one tiny section is wide, but the rest of the street won't be. I don't know, is that correct, Steve? That's correct. Okay, so I think that was the point that we found.
Okay, so I'll pose the situation here. So when the rest of that section gets built out, because there is a possibility that it will be on the next corner up on Taco, or not on Taco, what's the next one, Latham. Well, can we say, okay, now you have to do it?
Undergrounding or widening,
Widening.
that is your purview as well.
So that's an excellent question, Councilperson, and that is something that I've seen used by many other jurisdictions, where it's essentially a conditional dedication, or an offer of dedication that the city could accept in the future. The problem I think that we have to face, and the city engineer could maybe stew on it a bit, while I talk really slowly into the solution, is, okay, I think they wouldn't have any problem dedicating the 3 feet to the city. How do we secure that obligation to pay for that location?
But that possibility will probably be coming up within the next 10 years of development on that corner of Palm and Latham. And that developer will have to probably increase the width of that street and move things off, poles or do whatever also. So then we have an out and in and out, or an out and in and out and in.
You're talking about the corner.
Yes.
So I think that, you know, if the council wanted to propose a modified condition of approval that required an offer of dedication, and a requirement that they pay for the relocation if and when the city decides to accept that dedication, that would make sense. My concern would be, okay, 10 years in the future, how do we ensure payment?
Well, see, that's why you're legal and I'm not.
Yeah, so I've used, you know, letters of credit, I've used other forms of
But I think it's a good bargaining point. I mean, we're saying that we will waive $1 million undergrounding and $200 and some thousand pole moving, but we want something in the future when that development on the corner comes in, so that entire block has the same width on both sides.
So I think what I would then, you know, that's how the council feels, right? I think that, you know, if what you're saying is, we're not gonna require the money now, but we may require it in the future, that's certainly better than it absolutely being required now.
We did that with the solar farm. We got a letter of credit for off-site improvements after that project was done, and they were probably even in bankruptcy when we pulled the letter of credit and got everything done.
So then what I would suggest is that, we be specific about what would the triggering events be. So I think we need a set period of time. 10 years probably is at the outside. 5 years is something I've seen very commonly. The other thing would be, what is the triggering condition? So here, I think what you're saying is, if the city gets the funding to do the width improvements from Florida to Latham, so the remainder of the block, then that would be the triggering event for you need to dedicate the right of way to us, and you need to pay for the relocation of the utility poles. Have that secured by security that's acceptable to the city engineer and city attorney. Call it a day.
And the trigger needs to be any development along this block, because it might not be the city's development, but it might be someone else's, and you don't feel right.
So if we do secure the widening of the right of way for any reason, so for example, if we get a grant fund and we decide to go through condemnation,
That's it. Yeah.
or
I mean, we're gonna end up with excess measure refunds sometime, and it's like, okay, well, let's do Palm Avenue.
I think we could craft that as a condition of approval. And I think that if I was a developer, that's certainly more acceptable than $1 million underground.
Yeah, to me, that's a great trade-off. And get another bid. I was going over the bid, they had it on there, it's a little.
Yeah, I think philosophically, getting back to the initial issue of, I think philosophically, we all want to see utilities undergrounded wherever possible and feasible. This doesn't meet that categorization, in my opinion, to do the undergrounding for the reasons enumerated in the staff report. I do like the idea of the compromise approach. I think that's forward thinking. We have no assurance that this business that's being proposed is even going to be there 5 years from now. It might be a different business. So I think we want to think about the language and whether it, where it carries forward to a new business owner. Because the objective is to try to accommodate. We've all seen situations where development goes in and they pay for the street widening, and it's nice and wide where that development is, but then it pinches down. And from a traffic safety concern, I think we want to try to avoid that wherever we possibly can until we can reasonably do an appropriate length so that it's not so abrupt and threatens pedestrians and bicyclists in the process. But I like the compromise idea, but I would support a waiver of the underground.
And I'm sorry that the applicant is not here. I did recommend that they do attend.
That's okay. All right, so are we going to make this motion? You got this? City attorney, you want to help me out on this?
Sure. I think a motion could be to waive the undergrounding of the utilities, but impose a condition of approval on the project requiring a conditional offer of dedication backed up with security necessary for the utility relocation in a form approved by the city engineer and city attorney for a term of at least 5 years. And then the triggering event would be when the city has secured the additional right-of-way up to Latham, between on Palm from Florida to Latham.
And that's what the city or anything.
Well, the city either through condemnation or through future development.
Yes, that's my motion.
That's your motion, okay?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any further discussion?
Exactly.
It was ready to go, guys. All right, can we have a roll call vote?
Yes, motion by Councilmember Cooper, second by Councilmember Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Krupa.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lowenthal.
Yes.
Mayor Meyer.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0 to approve the waiver of undergrounding and relocation of utility lines related to the proposed improvements at 828 West Florida Avenue, northeast corner of Florida Avenue, and Palm Avenue Express Car Wash, based on finding undue hardship to the developer, determining that granting of the waiver would not result in negative impact to the public health, safety, or welfare, and include the conditions mentioned by the city attorney.
Awesome, thank you very much. All right, we have item 16B.
Good evening, Mayor, Meyer, and council members. I would like to start this presentation with a short informational video on the National Fitness Campaign.
Pull that mic just a little bit closer to you.
We're changing the way America thinks about fitness. With 200 fitness courts open, our campaign is growing. From college campuses to city parks and trails, we're bringing free fitness everywhere. It started. Hi, I'm Mr. Nagy, founder of the National Fitness Campaign. National Fitness Campaign was founded in 1979 when we opened the first fitness court. Redesigned for the 21st century, the fitness court is the world's best outdoor gym. Our 7-movement, 7-minute system allows you to use your own body weight to get the perfect workout. Easy or hard, it will work for you. Our goal is to build healthy communities by making outdoor fitness an essential part of people's lives so that each day is better than the last. And this year, 2,000 certified ambassadors will be trained to deliver classes, challenges, and clinics as part of our National Fitness Campaign. We'll also be hosting training camps in America. The Fitness Court mobile app is your gateway to enroll in these programs. Learn the moves and take challenges as we dig deep to create impact for our partners across America. We're proud to have helped cities of all sizes raise millions of dollars from respected sponsors to support free fitness. Wherever fitness is a priority, you can find a fitness court. Building beyond 200 cities and colleges, we're now partnering with large cities using urban movement data to map the best locations for pedestrian infrastructure. We're bringing fitness courts to within 10 minutes of population centers everywhere. We're now committed to raise $150 million to bring the campaign to 1,000 cities and schools, building the largest fitness movement in the world. Join us and let's make world-class fitness free. We're changing the way America thinks about fitness.
So I'll start with some background on the National Fitness Campaign. In mid-August, the National Fitness Campaign, which I'll refer to as NFC, reached out to the City Manager's Office regarding this health and wellness grant opportunity in association with the California Park and Recreation Society for its 2021 NFC CPRS Healthy Cities Campaign. On the direction of the City Manager, the National Fitness Campaign was contacted to learn more about the grant funding opportunity. A briefing call was held with NFC, and the project was reviewed to ensure alignment with the strategic plan goals. This grant opportunity aligns with the following strategic plan objectives: quality of life, enhance the visual appearance of the community to make it attractive and reduce blight, community engagement, increase the community's pride